You know, people always ask me the same thing when they visit my house. Why does it always smell so nice in here? They look around, expecting a fancy diffuser or some expensive product from a catalog. But I always smile and say, it's just little tricks, dear, old ones. And it's true. I've lived in this home for nearly 50 years, and through every season, every stage of life, I've learned that smell is not just a detail. It's a message. A clean smell says this place is loved. A warm smell says someone lives here who still cares. And a fresh smell? That says there's life in the air. The weird trick? Well, it's not just one. It's a way of thinking, a rhythm, a gentle routine that older women like me have passed to each other quietly, through examples, not manuals. And today, I want to share that with you. I want to take you through the small, honest practices that I've used, not because they're trendy, but because they work, and because they make a house feel like home. It all starts with air, fresh air. Every single morning, before I even drink my tea, I open a window. Sometimes just a crack, even in winter, even if it's raining. That first breath of outdoor air clears away the night, the closed-in smell, the cooking from yesterday, the breath of sleep. It all lifts. I don't light a candle until the window has done its job. See, no perfume can do what real air does. It sweeps through the room like a kind whisper, telling every corner it's time to start over. Sometimes I open the bedroom window while making the bed. Sometimes it's the kitchen window while I wipe the counters. But every day, at least once, a window opens. That's rule number 1. And then there's vinegar. Yes, vinegar. Not glamorous, not pleasant at first, but oh, it's powerful. I keep a simple spray bottle under the sink. Half white vinegar, half water. That's all. I use it everywhere. On the counters after cooking, inside the microwave, around the sink drain, on the trash can lid. And when I'm feeling fancy, I'll drop in a few peels of lemon or a sprig of rosemary just to soften the edge. But honestly, plain vinegar is fine. It doesn't mask odors. It eats them. And the strong scent? It vanishes in 20 minutes. What's left is nothing. Clean, still, peaceful. There's something humble and honest about vinegar. It reminds me of how my mother cleaned, how my grandmother used to soak rags in it and leave them over door frames. There were no brands, no labels, just things that worked. I think we've forgotten how powerful the basics can be. Now, let me tell you about fabrics. Oh, the hidden traps. People always clean the floors, the counters, the bathroom. But they forget the soft things, the things that breathe in smells like lungs. Curtains, throw pillows, couch covers, bedspreads. Even the rug by the door, they all absorb whatever's in the air. Bacon grease, dog smell, perfume, old food, humidity. It all settles into fabric, and then it lingers, quietly, invisibly. But it's there. So every season, spring, summer, fall, winter, I do a fabric day. I take down the curtains. I unzip. The cushion covers. I shake out the throws. Some go in the wash. Some I hang outside to air. I don't need everything to smell like flowers. I just want it to stop smelling like stuff, you know? And trust me, after you wash your curtains, you'll walk into the room and feel like someone opened the whole house. It's light, free. I also keep a little jar of baking soda in the linen closet. Just an open jar with holes poked in the lid. It absorbs the musty air without a word. And when I change the sheets, I sprinkle a little under the mattress pad. Not enough to feel, just enough to do its quiet job. Now here's one of my stranger tricks, and the one most people think is weird. I simmer things, on purpose. On the stove, a little pot, a little water, and whatever I have, orange peels, cinnamon sticks, clove, rosemary, bay leaf, vanilla. Sometimes just lemon slices and a bit of thyme. I don't boil it. I let it barely steam, and I let it whisper through the house while I clean. It smells like care, like someone is cooking something warm, even if it's just peace. I call it my house tea. And yes, people always ask what I'm making. It smells like Christmas in here, they say. But I'm not making a thing. I'm just saying I love this place without using words. And that's the thing. Scent speaks. It says who we are. It says what we value. And it lingers longer than dust or shine. People may not remember if your counters were spotless, but they will remember how it felt to breathe in your home. Next, I want to tell you about the secret of old drawers, the ones that hold towels or sheets or little things we only use once in a while. Those places can hold on to stale air like a closed box. So here's what I do. I line drawers with old, dryer sheets, or if I'm being fancy, a little sachet I make from rice, baking soda, and essential oil in a piece of cloth tied with string. Nothing dramatic, but every time I open those drawers, it smells like care, like time passed gently. And don't get me started on closets. A stale closet can ruin a whole outfit. So I keep a mason jar on the shelf with baking soda and 2 drops of lavender oil. Every month I stir it with a spoon. That's it. The scent revives just like that. Little habits, no rush, no harsh sprays, just old rhythms, just love turned into action. And finally, I need to mention shoes. Not to be rude, but shoes carry the world into your home. The dirt, the sweat, the rain. So I keep a tray by the door, and every week I sprinkle baking soda into the shoes I wear most. It's not fancy, but it works. And the house doesn't have that lived in too long smell. It just smells like me. Like someone who still takes pride in the quiet things. Like someone who believes home is sacred, even in the small corners. So if you're still with me, and I hope you are, this is the start. These are the first few steps, and in the next part, I'll tell you about the rituals I use when I want my home to feel like a sanctuary. We'll talk about scents that heal, habits that calm, and how even a simple cleaning cloth can become an act of self-respect. Stay with me. You deserve to live in a space that welcomes you back with every breath. When I think about home, I think about safety. Not just safety from the world outside, but emotional safety. That feeling of walking in, setting down your bag, and breathing deeply because the air just welcomes you. That's the kind of home I always wanted to create, not just for guests, but for myself. For the woman I've become over these years. That's why I have what I call my comfort rituals. These aren't complicated routines. They're just things I've done so often, they've become part of who I am. And today, I want to share a few of them with you, because they're part of the weird trick people always ask about. Let's start with the floors. Most people think a clean-smelling house starts with the air, or the candles, or the sprays. But for me, it starts underfoot. I clean my floors regularly, of course, but once a week, I take it a little further. I add a few drops of eucalyptus or lemon essential oil to a bucket of warm water, and I wipe down the floors by hand. Not because I have to, not because anyone's watching, but because there's something sacred about it. As I move across the room, I feel like I'm blessing the space. The scent of the oil rises with the steam. It clings gently to the baseboards, the rugs, the corners. It doesn't shout. It just whispers, "This place is clean." And when I walk across it barefoot, it feels like peace. That's the kind of clean I like, one that speaks softly but stays with you. Another habit I love involves my laundry. Now, I don't use fancy detergents. I use the same powder I've used for decades. But the trick isn't the detergent. It's what I do after. I hang some of my laundry indoors, near the kitchen window, where the light comes in just right. The smell of clean fabric mixing with sunlight and faint cooking aromas, it's indescribable. When guests come over, they always say, "Your house smells so fresh." They don't realize it's the laundry drying quietly in the corner, especially towels and dishcloths. If you dry them near sunlight, they hold that warmth. That honest, lived-in freshness that no spray can recreate. I also rotate the linens weekly. That may sound like a lot of work, but it's not. I keep it simple. One day is for changing bedsheets, another for switching out hand towels, another for airing out the pillows. Little by little, the house resets, and the smells reset with it. Nothing gets stale, nothing lingers too long. Now here's something odd, but powerful. I call it scent anchoring. It's the idea that if you use the same natural scent in the same place over and over, the mind begins to associate that space with that feeling. For example, every night before bed, I spray a tiny bit of lavender water on my bedroom curtains. Just one mist on each side. It's barely noticeable. But over time, my mind knows. This is where I rest. This is peace. I've done the same in the hallway with cedar oil. It reminds me of my grandfather's old cabin, and it gives the hallway a grounded, stable feel. The idea isn't to overpower the house with smell. It's to place gentle scent cues in meaningful spots. Places that welcome you, calm you, or energize you depending on the moment. This is something older women know instinctively. We remember what our mother's house smelled like, what our first apartment smelled like. Scent is memory. So why not use that to create joy now? Another favorite tip of mine is placing bowls of dried herbs in unexpected places. Not potpourri, the kind that's dyed and perfumed. I mean real dried herbs. Rosemary, sage, lavender. I put them in little bowls, on bookshelves, in the linen closet, even by the bathtub. Sometimes I crush the herbs with my fingers just a little to release their scent again. It's subtle. No one ever walks in and says, "What smells like rosemary?" But they do pause. They do smile, because it feels like something living is in the room, something old, kind, and wise. I once had a neighbor who used to iron her pillowcases every Saturday morning. I thought it was silly until I smelled them. She used just a drop of orange oil in her ironing water. The scent was barely there, but her entire bedroom smelled like sunrise. She passed that tip to me, and now I do it too. Not every week, but when I want to feel a little lifted. That's what these tricks are. They're not requirements. They're gentle gifts we give ourselves. Now, let's talk about the entryway. The very first moment someone steps into your home. That space matters. More than we think. It sets the tone. It's the first scent, the first impression. So I make sure mine speaks with kindness. I keep a small rug near the door and wash it often. I wipe down the doorknob with vinegar once a week, and I keep a small wooden bowl near the shoes filled with dried citrus peels and cloves. It's not decoration. It's a scent message. It says, "You're entering a place that is loved." Even delivery people comment. "Your house always smells so nice," they say. And I just smile, because it's not magic. It's just care. Now I want to share something a bit more personal, my bedtime ritual. Before I go to sleep, I walk through the house slowly. I fluff the couch cushions. I fold the throw blanket. I check the windows, and I take a deep breath. That breath tells me everything I need to know. If the air smells clean, soft, and still, I know I've done my job. If I catch something off, a strange smell, a stuffiness, I take a few minutes to adjust. Maybe open the kitchen window, maybe empty the trash, maybe light a tiny beeswax candle for 10 minutes, just enough to reset the air. That final breath of the day is sacred to me. It's how I say goodnight to my home, how I close the chapter. And every night, when I lay my head down, I sleep deeper, knowing my space is calm, protected, and fresh. That's not just cleaning, that's healing. So many women have told me they feel disconnected from their homes, that their house no longer feels like theirs. But the truth is, scent is one of the fastest ways to reclaim that connection. To say, "This is my space, I care about it, I belong here." And the beauty is, you don't need money, you don't need fancy things. You just need presence, intention, maybe a little vinegar, maybe a window cracked open, maybe a bowl of rosemary by the sink. In the next part, I want to walk you through my scent zones, how I divide the house into emotional spaces using smell. From the cozy warmth of the living room to the crisp calm of the bedroom, I'll share exactly what I do to make each part of my home feel like a gentle embrace. We'll also talk about how to stop bad smells before they start and why silence, more than scent, is sometimes the best fragrance of all. Thank you for being here with me. These moments matter, and you, yes, you, deserve to live in a space that feels like home every single day. Let's talk about what I call scent zones. Now, I know that might sound a little fancy for something so simple, but hear me out. Our homes aren't just one big space. They're a collection of small emotional rooms. Each one holds its own mood, its own rhythm, and yes, its own smell. And when you learn to gently shape those spaces with scent, your home starts to speak to you. It welcomes you differently in every corner. Let me walk you through how I do this in my own house. We'll start with the living room. That's the heart, isn't it? The place where we sit, talk, knit, read, watch a little television, or just breathe. I want this room to feel warm and comforting. So I use soft, earthy scents. Cinnamon, vanilla, or even just the smell of a freshly vacuumed rug. You'd be surprised how powerful that is. Once a week, I sprinkle a mixture of baking soda and a few drops of essential oil, usually clove or cedar, onto the rugs. I let it sit while I dust and fluff pillows. Then I vacuum it up, slow and steady. When I'm done, the whole room smells, like memory, like fall days and old recipes. I also keep a little wooden bowl on the shelf with dried orange peels. Sometimes I add a cinnamon stick. It's not to impress anyone, it's to remind myself of how good a home can feel. Now the kitchen, that's a different zone entirely. The kitchen to me should smell like life, not like harsh chemicals or synthetic lemon sprays. I want it to carry the warmth of meals, the sweetness of fruit, the edge of vinegar, and the comfort of bread. Every morning, after making breakfast, I wipe the counters with a cloth dampened in warm water and a splash of vinegar. Then I rinse it out and hang it over the faucet, not crumpled in the sink. That matters. It's a small act of order that signals this kitchen is respected. And sometimes, if I have a little time in the afternoon, I'll boil some apple slices with a bit of cinnamon bark. Just for 15 minutes. It fills the kitchen and nearby rooms with the kind of smell that makes people pause and smile. And, yes, sometimes I do it just for me. Because that's the kind of care we deserve, even when no one's visiting. Moving into the hallway, I treat it as a transition space. It's the breath between thoughts. So I try to keep it neutral, clean, and simple. I dust the baseboards, wipe the light switches, and once a month, I refresh the scent jar I keep tucked on the shelf. That jar holds baking soda and 2 drops of cedar oil. I stir it with a chopstick. That's all. But the hallway smells calm. It smells settled. Now, the bedroom. The sanctuary. This room is sacred. It's where I go to rest, to dream, to think. I want the air here to be light and still. I don't use sprays. I don't burn anything. Instead, I rely on fabric and time. Every few days, I open the window for 10 minutes, even in winter. I let the air exchange. Then I gently mist the curtains with lavender water. Not every day, just when the mood calls for it. I also wash my pillowcases more often than most people would think, every 4 days or so. Why? Because the face holds scent. The head leaves behind memory. And when I rest, I want it to feel like the first day of vacation. That crispness, that cleanness. I keep a small sachet in my pajama drawer. It's just rice, dried rosemary, and 1 drop of peppermint oil. That drawer smells like care. And every night, when I reach in, I feel it. In the bathroom, I aim for simplicity. Bathrooms can be hard. They collect smells quickly. So I make it a habit to do 5-minute refreshes throughout the week. I wipe the sink with vinegar and water. I flush a cup of baking soda down the toilet once a week. And I hang a little bundle of dried eucalyptus in the shower. When the steam hits it, it releases a subtle green scent. Nothing fancy, just nature, just healing. One trick I've used for years is keeping a little bowl of activated charcoal under the sink. It absorbs odors like magic. No smell, no perfume, just neutrality. And sometimes that's the best scent of all. Neutral air, peaceful air, air that doesn't speak unless spoken to. Now let's talk about how to stop bad smells before they start. Prevention is the secret that no one wants to talk about. We cover, mask, and spray. But what if we just stopped the stink before it began? For me, it starts with airflow. Even in winter, I crack windows for 5 minutes in the morning. I also use lids when I cook, take out the trash every evening, and clean the sink drain with baking soda and vinegar every Sunday. But the real trick? Awareness, nose awareness. I've trained myself to sniff out change. When something smells off, I don't wait. I act. A mystery smell is never really a mystery. It's just a message you haven't read yet. Listen closely. It might be your dish sponge. It might be a damp towel. It might be shoes near a heater. Whatever it is, address it with kindness. Not panic, not bleach, just care. Now here's a little habit I do once a month that always surprises people. I air out my closets. I open the doors wide. I pull a few things out. I shake coats. I pat folded sweaters. I leave the door open for a whole day. That one act brings a freshness back into the clothes, into the space, and into the hallway near it. Closets shouldn't be tombs. They should be resting places for things you love. Let them breathe. Let them be part of your home, not a hidden box of still air. And shoes, don't forget the shoes. I have a little wooden tray with pebbles by the front door. Every week, I take my most used shoes and sprinkle a little baking soda inside. Let it sit overnight. In the morning, I tap them out and set them in the sun for 15 minutes, even in winter, even if the sun is weak. That small effort makes a world of difference. No one wants to walk into a house and smell shoes. But more importantly, no woman wants her home to smell like surrender, like she gave up. We haven't. We're still here. We're still strong. And we still know how to make a house feel alive. Let me tell you a little story. Years ago, after my husband passed away, the house felt empty. Not just emotionally, physically. The air was heavy. The rooms were quiet in the wrong way. I remember sitting in the living room and realizing that house no longer smelled like anything. Not bad. Not good. Just nothing. That's when I started these rituals. I lit a beeswax candle every morning. I simmered cinnamon in the kitchen. I opened a window while folding towels, not because I was expecting anyone, but because I was reminding myself, I'm still here. This is still home. These scents were my heartbeat when everything else felt still. And now my home smells like me, like my story, like a life lived fully. I want that for you too. In the next part, I'll share my seasonal scent rituals, what I do in spring, summer, fall, and winter to shift the mood of the house gently with the changing weather. I'll also tell you about the little tricks I use when I need to feel recentered, calm, or lifted, because sometimes a simple smell can bring you back to yourself. Stay with me. The journey continues. Let's talk about seasons. The rhythm of the year doesn't just change the weather. It changes the air inside our homes, the mood of our routines, and even the smells that comfort us. Older women like me have learned to move with the seasons, not against them. And over time, we discover that our homes breathe differently in spring than they do in autumn. That's why I have what I call seasonal scent rituals. They're small shifts I make to honor the time of year and to keep my home smelling beautiful in a way that feels right for that moment. In spring, everything is about renewal. The air feels new, the sunlight changes, and even the breeze seems to carry a different song. So I take advantage of that. I start by opening the windows for longer each day. I let the house exhale the stale breath of winter. I also wash things I haven't touched in months, like curtains, throw blankets, even the chair cushions. I shake out the rugs and mop with a little lemon in the water. I place a small vase with cut herbs near the entryway, rosemary, mint, or lavender if I can find it. I don't need a big bouquet, just a sprig or two. Something that whispers, fresh, start every time I walk past. Spring also means cleaning places that hold hidden smells, like the inside of drawers, under the fridge, and the pantry. I take a damp cloth with vinegar and wipe down those forgotten corners. Then I leave a sadio, small bowl of baking soda, or a piece of charcoal to keep things fresh. These aren't chores to me. They're part of waking the house up again. In summer, the energy shifts. The days are longer, the air is thicker, and scents move faster. In the heat, strong smells can build up, especially from cooking, laundry, or just being indoors with the windows closed. So I focus on lightness. I use fans and cross breezes to move air. I keep citrus peels in a bowl on the table. I simmer lemon and thyme instead of cinnamon and clove. I even hang a damp towel with peppermint oil near the back door to keep the air feeling cool and clean. In summer, I clean the trash can more often. I keep the fridge wiped down. I wash bedding more regularly because it absorbs body scent so quickly in the heat. These things don't take long, but they make the whole house feel breathable. I also freeze lemon slices in water and let them melt slowly on a plate in the kitchen. It's an old trick, but it works. The slow release of scent makes the room feel fresh without overpowering. Now, autumn is my favorite season. The light becomes softer, the air a little more still, and the house begins to feel like a shelter again. This is when I bring out the warm smells: vanilla, nutmeg, clove, a bit of coffee, or toasted almond. I start baking more, not just for taste, but because the smell of something baking fills a home like a blanket. I line my dresser drawers with old tea bags, dry ones, of course. They absorb moisture and release soft scents over time. My favorites are chamomile and apple spice. In fall, I also take down each coat, scarf, and blanket and give them a moment in the sun. Even if I don't wash them, I shake them out, let them air, and then fold them with a drop of cedar oil on a cotton pad tucked nearby. It makes the hall, closet smell like a forest, like safety, like memory. And finally, winter. Winter is the time for silence, for stillness, for deeper smells. This is when I use beeswax candles, not for scent, but for the way they clean the air and give off that faint honey smell. I also bring out the simmer pots more often. I fill them with orange peel, clove, bay leaf, and vanilla. I let them steam gently on the stove while I clean or knit or sit with a book. Sometimes I tuck cinnamon sticks between books on the shelf. Not where they can be seen, just hidden, waiting. When the heater kicks on, the warmth activates them. It's like a secret hug from the house itself. In winter, I also pay special attention to the bedroom. I warm the sheets with a hot water bottle before bed. I keep a sachet of lavender and rice on the radiator. When I get under the blankets, the scent has bloomed just enough to make me feel held. These are seasonal things, yes, but they're also soul things. They remind me that the house is alive, that I'm alive, that the world turns gently and we can turn with it. And now I want to talk about something a little deeper, the emotional side of scent. You see, smell is tied to memory, more than any other sense. One whiff of a certain perfume, a baked pie, a musty attic, and suddenly we're 8 years old again, or back in a hospital waiting room, or standing in our mother's kitchen. Scent brings back joy, but it can also bring back grief. That's why, as older women, we have to be gentle with scent. We have to know what memories we're inviting back. I once found an old bottle of perfume in a drawer. It had been years since I'd worn it. I sprayed a little on my wrist, and I cried. Not because it was bad, but because it took me back to a version of myself I hadn't visited in a long time. So I made a choice. I started using a new scent, something soft, simple, and honest. A blend of rosemary and lavender that feels like now. Like this chapter. That's something we all deserve, to smell like the woman we've become, not just the girl we were. That's why I always encourage other women to find one scent that feels like home and use it gently, repeatedly, in the same spaces. A pillow mist, a drop on the inside of a cardigan, a touch on a letter or a journal. Make it your signature. Let your home smell like your story. Another thing I love to do is write little notes and tuck them into drawers with a spritz of essential oil on the paper. Just a word or two. You are strong. Today is enough. Rest well. The scent clings to the paper, and every time I find one, it feels like a gift from a past version of me. That's what scent can do. It carries messages through time. One more little ritual I'll share is my Sunday refresh. Every Sunday morning, I light a beeswax candle, play soft instrumental music, and walk from room to room with a clean cloth. And a gentle spray. I don't scrub. I don't rush. I just reset. I fluff pillows. I open a window for a few minutes. I wipe the doorknobs. I shake the curtains. I talk to the house. I say, "Thank you for holding me this week." I know that sounds silly, but it grounds me. It reminds me that home isn't just a place we keep clean. It's a place that keeps us. In the next part, I'll show you how I prepare my home for guests, not with perfection, but with feeling. I'll share the final few tricks that make a house smell like warmth, like welcome, like love. And we'll end this journey together with a few closing thoughts on what it really means to create a space that speaks without words. You've come this far with me. Thank you. Let's finish strong. Finish strong. There's a difference between a clean house and a welcoming one. You know it the moment you walk through the door. A clean house might sparkle, but a welcoming house breathes. It sighs when you enter. It wraps around you like a sweater you forgot. You loved. That's what I think about every time I prepare my home for guests, especially now at this stage of life. I don't entertain like I used to. No big dinners, no loud gatherings. But when someone comes by, a neighbor, a grandchild, a friend, I want them to feel something. I want them to feel peace. That's why when I prepare for visitors, I don't rush to deep clean the house. I focus on how it feels. I start with the entryway. I always sweep the front step, wipe the handle, and place something small, a little jar of dried herbs, a seasonal wreath, or just a bowl of citrus near the door. It's not for show. It's for energy, for intention. Then I open the windows, even for just 5 minutes, to clear the air. If it's winter, I crack one near the kitchen while I warm the oven with a slice of apple and cinnamon inside. If it's summer, I open 2 across the house to create a breeze. Air movement brings life. It resets the mood. I light 1 beeswax candle in the living room. Not a scented one, just the kind that gives off that subtle, golden warmth. I turn on soft music, instrumental, gentle, the kind that doesn't compete with conversation. And I prepare a scent anchor. Something subtle that lingers, but doesn't overpower. Maybe I simmer orange peel and clove on the stove. Maybe I spray a little rosemary water on the couch throw. Sometimes I simply hang a damp towel with lavender near the heater. These small touches, they create the kind of air people remember, not because it's strong, but because it feels like safety. Next, I walk through the rooms and notice what might smell off. I sniff the trash can. I check the laundry basket. I give the bathroom a once-over with a vinegar cloth. Not deep cleaning, just attentive touch-ups. Then I sit. I let the house speak back. I sit on the couch and breathe in. I ask, does this space feel calm? If not, I adjust. Not to impress, but to align. Because a home that smells like peace is more powerful than one that smells like perfume. When guests arrive, they often comment, "It smells so clean in here, but also so warm." That's the goal. That's the weird trick. Not some secret product or viral gadget, just presence, just care. just the choice to treat your space like a living thing. After the guests leave, I don't rush to clean. I let the house rest. I open a window again, let it breathe out the visit. I wipe the table slowly. I fold the throw blanket with both hands. I thank the room for holding company. This is sacred. It's small, but it's sacred. And now, dear listener, we've reached the end of our time together. But before we close, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts. If your home doesn't smell the way you want it to right now, don't worry. Don't blame yourself. Don't think it means anything about who you are. Scent is changeable. It's forgiving. You can begin again every day with the smallest of steps. Crack a window, boil a little lemon, wash a pillowcase, light a candle, not to cover something up, but to bring yourself closer in. Your home doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be loved, and when it's loved, it smells like life, like effort, like gentleness. That's what people remember, that's what you will remember. I hope these tips, stories, and rituals have inspired you, not to do more, but to care differently, to care deeper, to honor the space that holds your memories, your mornings, your quiet moments, and to remember that scent is not just decoration. It's a message, one that says, "This is my home, I live here, I'm still here." Strong, present, whole. If you ever feel overwhelmed, go back to the basics. Vinegar, fresh air, clean linens, a warm light in the window. These things are enough. They've always been enough. You don't need the latest spray or a designer diffuser. You need intention, you need attention, and you need to trust that the way your house smells can change the way your heart feels. So today, maybe try one thing. Open a drawer and tuck in a cotton ball with a drop of vanilla. Air out your shoes and place a bowl of baking soda by the door. Simmer a little cinnamon while you fold towels. Let scent become your quiet companion, your invisible caretaker, your signature. And remember, you're not alone in this. Women, like us, have been keeping homes alive with small rituals for generations. You're part of that story now. And your home, with its gentle scent and soft light, is part of the legacy. Thank you for walking this journey with me, for listening, for feeling, for opening your heart. May your home always smell like love, like you. Until next time, breathe deeply and know that everything you do in love, however small, is more than enough.